JBNN keep you informed. I'm Michelle Jones. Before we get into the news, please remember to like, subscribe, leave a comment, and share the news with someone today. Now onto the news. A man that was washed away by raging waters in Hurricane Melissa was rescued by the JDF. The JDF says its Joint Rescue Coordination Center received word on Thursday that the man was marooned in the Yalos River. A search and rescue helicopter was used to successfully locate and rescue him. 2 men shot in Portmore. 2 men were shot and injured along Mattis Lane in Dumbleholden, Portmore, St. Catherine, early Friday morning. According to reports, about 12:20 a.m., the men were standing along the roadway when a dispute developed between them over money. 3 other men then walked up. During the dispute, one of the men pulled a handgun from his waistband and opened fire, hitting the 2 men in the upper body. The injured men were assisted to the Spanish Town Hospital, where they were admitted. The Portmore Criminal Investigation Branch is probing the matter. Portmore police some thieves who stole car during Hurricane Melissa. The police in Portmore, St. Catherine, are searching for hoodlums who stole a vehicle from a woman's home during the passage of Hurricane Melissa on Tuesday night. According to reports, about 11 p.m. on October 28, the woman parked her 2020 Honda Shuttle motor car at her home in 4 West, Greater Portmore, and went to bed. The governmental employee woke up the following day and noticed that the vehicle was missing. A report was made to the Portmore Criminal Investigation Branch, which has launched a probe. Tufton says teams accessing reports of dead bodies in remote areas. Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. Christopher Tufton, says the environmental health teams are working closely with the Jamaica Defence Force and other agencies to access remote communities following reports of dead animals and deceased persons being marooned in communities after Hurricane Melissa.
Environmental health team, and the leads are in this room. You can speak to them after. But it's a very important part of the response, and that's the mode we're in now. Having secured some communication, having cleared some of the roadways, and now have the mobility to go into communities, we can now target particular areas while we work with the authorities, the other agencies, to secure other areas. So the team would be on the lookout for what you have just mentioned. So dead animals, for example, proper disposal of those carcasses. Clearly, if it's the worst of a dead body, then there is a mechanism for that. When I was in Westmoreland at the hospital, they were taking in a few bodies, and some of them were marooned in communities. So it took a little while to access them, and you wouldn't have known until someone raised the alarm that this was the case because of the nature of the accessibility and so on. Once access and notification was given, the JDF would provide the level of support that we can provide, air support, but then we also have arrangements with different entities to pick up and to drop off and so on. And I did witness at least 3 or so when I was at SAV. There were also persons who are injured, who, one man who broke his leg and was at home for like 3 days because he couldn't get access, and he came in while I was there. But the environmental health team, numbering 600 in an ideal scenario, would be out there, and we would want a kind of feedback on that if persons see, as you have just indicated. I don't know if anybody else wants to comment further on that, but that's my understanding of how it works, right? And we have to be vigilant, and it has to involve all of us, okay? I don't have any official numbers on deaths. I know that there was an announcement by, I think, the Minister of Information on the 19th. I would imagine it's more, but it wouldn't be wise for me to speculate because, and I say so because there are still places that we have had difficulties reaching. I know the storm entered the border of Westmoreland and St. Elizabeth. Communities like Darliston and those areas, Black River, of course, they were really impacted by the wind. A lot of roof damage, a lot of injuries, which we are now seeing coming in. We hope for the best, but we have to prepare plan and do the necessary reconnaissance to determine on that. So I'm sure the Minister of Information, once she gets an updated report from the police, will provide that information.
Golding urges quick and fair post-Melissa relief. Opposition leader Mark Golding has stated that it is vital that relief efforts reach every community quickly and fairly. He made the comments following a tour of Westmoreland on Friday to assess the impact of Hurricane Melissa there.
It's obviously a critical time now, 3 or 4 days after the storm. People need water, they need food, and so on. And then the rebuilding needs to start. And of course, when we're doing the rebuilding, we have to do it smartly because we realize we're in a different era now in terms of climate crisis and weather patterns. And we can't just assume that we can do it the way we did it before. We have to be more resilient in our approach. We have to be building resilience into what we do, where we do things, how we do things. But right now, the immediate need is the people and the desperate plight they're in. And so I'm glad I'm seeing it. All I can do is really advocate. We're in touch with many people abroad who want to help. Jamaica's getting an outpouring of support and love because of the goodwill that we command internationally. So we just need to translate that into actual help on the ground. The bureaucracy needs to be moved aside, but the practices must be done in a way that's transparent, and a mechanism needs to be put in place to ensure that that is done. But so far, I'm very happy to be with the people. They're glad to see me, and I wish them well, and we're going to continue to advocate for help for them because they have immediate needs that must be met. Thank you.
Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says government is moving to deploy field hospitals across 5 western parishes.
I just came back in from a 5-parish hospital tour: Sav, Trelawney, Hanover, Cornwall Regional, and Black River, of course. All have sustained significant damages, and we're now doing the reconnaissance estimates, cleanup, and trying to support the staff who also have been victims of the storm. The staff welfare is very important because many of them have lost roof and has property damage and so on. So we're now working a program to give them that support. The facilities have varying degrees of damage, but primarily roof-related and water-related damage. So we have had to be doing a lot of makeshift arrangements in terms of where patients are held, accident and emergency, and the functionality of those services while the assessment is done for the immediate or short-term cleanup and restoration. A lot of injuries are coming in that are related to the different, the storm, some preparing for, some during, and some after. So a number of falls, cuts with metal objects, that kind of thing. You would have heard the news about the bodies that have been retrieved. The JDF is working on that search and rescue in some of the critical parishes like Westmoreland and St. Elizabeth in particular. And we are trying to get the A&Es back up and functional as best as possible, and the supporting services like lab and imaging, operating theatre, while the assessment is done to deal with ward space and other services. It's going to be a medium-term recovery period, so the key is to get the most important places up quickly. And we are also now in the final stages of arranging some field hospitals that will be deployed at certain locations, Black River. In fact, we're looking at all 5 locations for the possibility of field hospitals. And so there is a conversation that's taking place. I'll give more particulars in the next day or two on specific hospitals and specific efforts that are being made. In the meantime, we're planning on the vector control and the public health inspectors who will begin in earnest to look at food establishments in the interest of protecting the consumers, so food safety. With no electricity and refrigeration, foods are subject to spoilage, and we want to ensure that Jamaicans are eating in a way that preserves their health. Water, similarly so. And for vector, we expect a surge of mosquito population, so we're working to deploy the team in the field starting Monday. And where we have challenges because of the impact on staff, we will try to move some people across the border.
Westmoreland Eastern MP Dr. Dayton Campbell wants his constituency declared a disaster area.
I'm Dr. Dayton Campbell, the Member of Parliament for Eastern Westmoreland. I want to give an update this morning as to the state of affairs in the constituency. But first I want to give some context to what I'm saying. The Hurricane Melissa, as a Category 5 hurricane, is the strongest hurricane to have ever hit Jamaica. It made landfall in New Hope, which is in White House, essentially where I am now, in the White House division in the constituency. It then went across the hill, the eye of the hurricane, including the eye wall, which caused significant damage, then went across the hill to Darliston, Bethel Town, Seaford Town, which is a part of the Leamington division as well. The damage to the constituency is significant. So far, 19 deaths have been reported in Jamaica. At least 10 of those have come from Eastern Westmoreland. We have, at least by my estimation, 1,000 houses that have been totally destroyed. Not damaged, destroyed. More houses that are now flat, that people cannot occupy at this point in time because there is no structure that is there, just the rubble that remains. The majority of the roadways, the citizens have had to use chainsaws, machete to just gain single lane access. We need to have the National Work Agency working with contractors to clear these roadways as soon as possible. And I'm having this conversation with the Minister of Works, who has responded favorably to say that we can go ahead. But I'm unable to get in touch with the parish manager because communication is an issue. So the roads are blocked. Schools have been destroyed, including shelters, health centers, police stations, post offices, commercial property, and housing. The gas stations have been destroyed as well, so it becomes even more difficult to move around because you're not able to refuel your vehicles. We need, in my opinion, this constituency needs to be a disaster area and all the emergency services need to come into the constituency. Whenever I say this, people attempt to make it political. I'm not an idiot. This is not political. This is about help for the people. There is nothing that I could gain from making a political statement other than victimization for myself and the people that I represent. So why would I do that? It has absolutely nothing to do with politics. It has to do with care for the people who are currently suffering. We've been able to establish the White House Community Center as a delivery point so we can get things to distribute from there into the division. We're using a location in Darliston, next door to where the councillor lives, so we can bring things there and we can use that to distribute. And I'm trying to establish a center similarly in the other two divisions so we can get things to the resident. People need food, they need water, some of them need basic medical supplies, hygiene kits, persons need zinc, they need ply, they need nails, they need some lamp or flashlight, they need blankets, tarpaulin. People need help. So whether it's from government, or it's from private sector, or it's from NGOs, I am making an appeal for the constituency and the residents of Eastern Westmoreland. We were not heard from during the first day because there was no communication. Our silence should not be interpreted as comfort. It is actually a cry for help. Based on the devastation, there was no way of communicating. Thankfully, we have some residents who have Starlink And those persons have been able to give access to members in the community so that they can get in touch with their loved ones. I am pleading on behalf of the residents as I encourage those who have displayed such resilience to continue to look out for each other, look out for their brother's keeper, and continue to help us as we create access to the communities to try and get some assistance to the people. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Commercial flights resume at Sangster, says Vaz.
Airports, which is where everything starts. Nothing can happen unless we have those airports open. I'm happy to say again that Norman Manley International Airport accepted 13 cargo relief flights yesterday, and that does not include what relief came in on commercial airlines and also private airlines, which there were many. I'm happy to say that both commercial and relief operations continue at Norman Manley International Airport, and we are expecting in excess of 20 cargo flights coming in today. So I want to pause to say that the issue of the relief and the support that we have gotten is overwhelming, and we thank our partners all across the world, governments and charitable organizations, NGOs. But that's the easy part. The hard part is the logistics of getting this relief into these areas in the shortest possible time, which we are now pretty much out of time in terms of the desperation among the citizenry. Happy to announce that there are several helicopters on the way. Between 8 and 10 from the US government, and those are the big helicopters that have the ability to transfer and treat patients that may need underground treatment, plus of course be able to carry a lot of relief supplies. Not to mention that some of the charitable organizations that are here, the big ones, have their own assets, private helicopters, and I suspect that by end of today we will probably have about 6 or 7 of those. What we will do with that is to coordinate between the JDF, who will be overall in charge of the flight operations of those helicopters, and of course the non-government organizations who are anxious to get out there, and of course the government's response through Ministry of Labour and Social Security and other arms of government to make sure that we have a smooth logistics trying to get into as many communities as possible at the same time or in succession. So I would say to all of those persons who are still out there waiting and looking up in the sky, that you will start to see movements today, and you're going to hear a lot of activity, and I'm sure that that will make you feel better once you see it, because you probably are feeling that you are forgotten. You are not forgotten, and you will never be forgotten. So Montego Bay Airport had a lot more damage as we got St. James got close to a direct hit, and I'm pleased to say that we are we are taking flights, relief flights in Montego Bay now for 2 days, and finally and thankfully 7 o'clock tomorrow morning MBJ will open for commercial passengers. What does that do? That allows us to get out all of the persons, the tourists especially, who are here and need to get out, and also more access for commercial and relief.
JBNN will keep you informed. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, leave us a comment, and click the notification bell to receive our daily news items.